How often does this happen where someone comes up to you and they ask, how you doing? And without hesitation, you just say, I'm good, fine, can't complain. And how often do you know that that's just a load of BS? That things aren't actually good or fine, and that you've got some really difficult things that you're going through. Taking it one step further, when's the last time you could actually name that difficult feeling and not just label it as stressed or tired, but actually that feeling underneath it? For a lot of guys, it's pretty hard. Not that there's something wrong with us, but we were just never taught how. Or at least we were never given the space to safely do it. So in this video, I want to get into why so many men are cut off from their emotions and how it's actually destroying you and what you can actually start doing about it without feeling like you're being soft or fake. If you're new here, I'm Daniel, and this is Full Frame Living, where I help men transform their lives from the inside out using personal development tools and techniques, but through the lens of faith and scripture. So with that, let's get into it. So for anyone that knows me, I think they would confidently say that I'm what you would call a feeler. And sometimes it comes across as being emotional or sensitive, but even so, at the end of the day, I'm still a guy. And as a guy, I too lacked a lot of this understanding with my emotions. I too suppressed things, and I didn't always feel safe to express myself or know how to put a label on what I was feeling. It was much easier to talk about what I thought about something rather than talk about how I felt about something. Those are two very different things. And in our world, our society, culture, it doesn't make this any easier. There's a lot of really toxic definitions of what masculinity is supposed to look like, and when it comes to emotions, a lot of times we're told that we shouldn't have any, or at least we shouldn't express it, or we shouldn't feel it, and instead just to let it go or forget about it or bury it. And a lot of times when we do those things, it shows up in the form of numbing or getting angry. It's like those are the only two tools we've ever had, just to ignore it or get pissed off. And honestly, that was me for a really long time, until I was given the proper language and the space to really feel these things. It was through therapy and learning about emotional intelligence that really started to finally click for me. So when I talk about men and emotions and feelings and all that mushy stuff, some might say, gosh, this is just a bunch of new age crap. People are just getting so soft nowadays, and this isn't how real men are supposed to be. Well, research says otherwise, because it's not actually natural for men to be emotionally disconnected. It's actually more so trained. If you have any personal experience with this, like you have young boys yourself, or you can think back to when you were young, you know that little boys grow up feeling everything. They are just as, if not more emotional than little girls. They scream, they shout, they cry, they get scared, they show all of it. And then somewhere around age 5, 6, 7, that's when this training starts. The world starts telling them, don't cry, or man up, or shake it off. It sounds pretty harmless and kind of almost necessary. But to a child, it's really detrimental, and it sends a lot of mixed messages. Hearing these types of messages over and over again teaches boys that feeling and expressing emotions is unacceptable. And maybe the only one that is acceptable is probably anger. For whatever reason, that one can stay. Maybe because it just looks more tough and masculine. But what happens to the other feelings? Hurt, fear, sadness, shame. It all just gets funneled into the one emotion that's allowed, which is, you guessed it, anger. So when our response is just, I'm fine, it's not even like we're lying. It's because we genuinely don't even have other words to use. Now, if you grew up in the church like I did, there's a good chance that this just got reinforced and not actually really fixed. There's this perception that being of faith means somehow keeping it all together. That being a strong man of God means that you're stoic, you're controlled, you're unbothered, and that having emotions is somehow a lack of faith or seen as being immature and not grounded. But that simply is not true. That's actually more of our culture wearing a Christian disguise. I mean, just take a look at the book of Psalms. You see it right there. It's written by David. He's raw, he's furious, he's crying, he's in despair. He says things like, "How long, Lord? Will you forget me forever?" They even gave this its own category in the Bible. It's called lament. And then you read about Jesus. All throughout Scripture, he's showing emotions. When he visits his friend Lazarus' grave, it says that Jesus wept. The night before his crucifixion, he tells his disciples that he's deeply troubled and that his anguish was so intense that his sweat looked like drops of blood. And when he's in the temple and sees it turn into a marketplace, he flips tables and he drives the people out. He's not just this calm, cool, collect man. He's the most perfect example of a man to ever exist and was not emotionally shut off. He felt everything, and most importantly, he gave it all to God. Okay, so you might be saying, where do I draw the line? Because I don't want to be some overly emotional or dramatic guy that just cries about everything and can't function properly. Isn't it more important to be able to restrain and control your emotions? Yeah, you're absolutely right. But that's not what this is about. This isn't about being ruled by your emotions, about being overwhelmed or controlled by them. That's the opposite side of the same exact problem. The goal isn't to go from suppressing everything to drowning in everything. It's to be able to read them, to know what's happening inside of you so you can actually deal with it instead of it leaking out sideways. Instead of you taking it out on other people, your family, your kids, instead of picking up that bottle or spending hours just doom scrolling on your phone. When you can name the emotion is when you can start managing it. See, emotional intelligence isn't weakness. It's about taking command of a part of you that's currently running unsupervised. So what do? How do you actually start reconnecting if you've never done so? Well, for one, start by paying attention to your body. Emotions are actually more physical before they're anything else. The tightness in your chest, clenched jaws, the heat in your face, the pit in your stomach. These are all physical manifestations of your emotions. So maybe just a few times a day, throughout the day, just stop and ask, okay, what am I feeling in my body right now? You're not trying to analyze anything, you're just trying to notice it. Think of it as a muscle that you're trying to build. Then after a while, you start putting a word to it. Something other than just fine or stressed or I'm tired or angry. Maybe instead it's disappointed or I'm scared or I feel lonely or I'm ashamed. Here's the cool thing. Science says that even just naming an emotion, whether it's out loud or just to yourself, will actually lower its intensity in your brain. They call it name it to tame it. And what you're doing is taking power away from the emotion. Now at this point, I feel like this is where a lot of the self-help stuff just kind of ends it. But when you do this long enough and you've built up that muscle, you'll realize there's a bit of a ceiling. It kind of gets capped out. It only helps so much. Because life will eventually throw some stuff your way that just simply naming your feelings isn't gonna cut it. It's not going to be enough to just sit with your emotions by yourself or even with other people and expect things to get better. So that's when you have to bring it to God. Not saying things like, God, help me stop feeling this, but instead saying, God, here is my fear, here is my anger. It's only then that the real healing and the real peace starts taking shape into your life. So simply just start feeling it in your body, name it, and bring it to God. It's not anyone's fault that men are just, for the most part, emotionally disconnected. It's culture. It's years of conditioning. It's this lie that we've been told that being strong means not to feel. But the truth is that it actually takes a lot more strength and courage to feel your emotions and face it head on. That's how you actually man up. If you want to go a bit deeper on these topics, I've got a free guide that I put together called The Whole Man. You can find the download link in the description below. And if you like this video, if you could please hit that like button and subscribe, it would really help support the channel and also help reach more men that might also be quietly struggling. So with that, thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next one.